You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with glad cries of deliverance. I will instruct you and teach you the way you should go. This is when the teacher is speaking to the student. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Do not be like a horse or a mule without understanding, whose temper must be curbed with bit and bridle, else it will not stay with you. May the torments of the wicked, many are the torments of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. I was very skeptical when I chose this passage, and frankly, I was a little upset that I was in the only places left for this week's sermons were all about sin, because this is PSR, and sin's not a popular topic. But this psalm starts out very well for a PSR context because it brings the good news first. It begins with a description of a person who is blessed, truly blessed, and the implication being that we can be blessed as well. The opening two verses tell of a person who is forgiven by God, whose sins are covered by God. Counts of sin are not counted by God. Forgiveness and love are given, yet these blessings come with one thing. You have to not have deceit. No deceit. This is a psalm about confession. It speaks of forgiveness, safety, and love, but these are conditional upon confession. Not just any confession either. In exchange for the blessings of love, safety, and forgiveness, we must confess our sin. Verses 3 and 4 of the psalm describe what it is like to groan or complain without confession. My bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. And I think about my own early rejection of confession. Times when I had little boxes of shame, of sins that I didn't want to look at buried deep down in my soul. And it was terrifying. Not because I thought God couldn't forgive me, but because how could I forgive myself for having done these terrible things? I was shamed by those things. I was shamed by the words I used and not used, by the actions that I took and that I did not take. I was shamed by what I had intended to do but did not. I was shamed because I expected people to be the person I wanted to be, but I was not. I was shamed by all of these things. And that shame is overpowering. Shame is too big for me. I can't hold shame alone. And so I change it. And it becomes fear. Because I think about the people that I have sinned against and how they want vengeance. Or how I will appear weak. And in that weakness, I will be even more alone. And I'm complaining. I'm groaning. I'm saying I can't confess because then I'll be more alone. And who wants to be alone? And my sense of guilt and embarrassment forces me to bury those sins deep down again. And you make little tiny boxes and you put them deep down because you never want to look at it. I never wanted to look at my sins. I did that because I knew what would happen if I opened them. If I opened them, the fear would come back. And yet, they don't stay down. You can't just seal off your sin. You can't just seal off the things that shame you. And so, without confession, I got angry. I'm ashamed to say it, but it's the truth. Anger is my emotional drug of choice. And it's such a dangerous thing because, like a drug, is that it feels so good so quickly. But also like a drug is that it's temporary and it doesn't last. And when the anger's gone, you're empty. And the only thing you can do to feel something again is get angry again. And that's what it's like when I feel wasted away. I am empty of everything but shame, fear, and anger. Verses 5 through 7 go on to speak of the act of confession and the resulting forgiveness. Verse 5 has the line, I did not cover up my iniquity. All of my sin is presented to God of my own free will. I bear all in the hope that my transgressions will be forgiven. Verse 6 says, the rush of mighty waters shall not reach those who are in the faithful and loving embrace of God's forgiveness. Even the mighty waters cannot reach a faithful person as long as they've confessed. There is nothing to fear. Then verse 7 comes around and it has a very interesting turn of phrase. It says, you, God, are my hiding place. My hiding place. If we, the faithfully confessed, have nothing to fear because we are within the loving embrace of God's forgiveness, then what are we hiding from? Why do we need God to hide in? I don't know why you need to hide. But I need to hide to feel safe. Because without that sense of absolute safety, I'm alone with my shame and I can't handle that. Because once I'm alone, I again think of the vengeance, the weakness, and the shame, which turn to fear, which turns to anger, and I'm empty again. But within a place of complete love and safety, I know that I can lay out all the bad parts. I can show God everything that I've ever done wrong because transgression is forgiven and sin is covered. I can hide in the loving embrace of God's forgiveness. I can be safe with God. The shame I feel about the sins that I have committed can be felt without fear, because I'm not alone. God knows that I'm weak, but still forgives me. God knows that I've done terrible things, but he still loves me. And so we get to the post-confession, a place in which you have acknowledged what you've done. And for me, it's like this great weight that has been lifted off my shoulders. And I think about like when I really talk to my parents about the lies that I told them. And how good it feels afterwards. You know, like sometimes I cry. More often than not, my mom cries. And we're closer together because of it. I feel better because of it, because I'm whole. I'm authentic. I have shown them the things about myself that I wish to hide. And that feels really good. The end of the psalm speaks of this moment. Many are the torments of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. The torments of the wicked are real. We feel bad. But even in that bad, our feelings can be overcome by the love and forgiveness of God. And so I want to leave you with the beginning of the psalm, the good news. Happy are those to whom the Lord imputes no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven and whose sin is covered, because in there all of us are blessed. Thank you.